What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Opps SportsCast. I'm your host, Dave in the Cut, and very happy to have everybody with us tonight. Should have a great show for you tonight. On tonight's episode, we will be discussing Tiger Woods, the baton beatdown, his airness, the GOAT, and the Mount Rushmore of sports. So we got a great show lined up for you all tonight. And again, we're happy to have you here with us. Let me go ahead and introduce my team here. Fellas, what's going on?
There
There
I
you go,
go.
PZ. You there?
What up, everybody? We back. It's your boy Chris Peasy in the building. What's good?
What's going on, people? It's your boy Big Zeke.
What up, Big Zeke? How's everybody
Another
doing?
day in paradise, pump.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man.
For
So,
sure.
in case you guys are wondering, Josh from Eastside, he has some things to take care of, so he won't be joining us tonight. And we just actually hope he gets some rest. Believe it or not, he's been filling in for our pastor at church, who is in Africa right now. So Josh has just been, he's been doing his thing, helping out, but he's been wearing himself out too. So we need him to rest up, man, and so he's fresh for us next week. You know what I'm saying?
Was he's on a
Absolutely.
mission trip or is that like a vacation?
Missions trip, man. But,
Oh, that's what's up.
comes back Sunday, I believe.
What part of Africa do you know?
I want to say Kenya. I can't
That sounds
remember. I
about
think
right.
it's Kenya. Yeah,
Shout
Kenya.
out to Kenyans, man.
No doubt, man. So how's everybody doing, man? You guys doing good?
Yeah, man.
I'm a little perturbed, man. I'm not
Why you
gonna
mad?
front.
Because the Braves just beat the Yankees?
I saw that, man, 4-0, man. It ain't no thing. You know what I'm saying? Stroman had a nice little three outings, three inning outing, but that don't mean anything. So
It's
I'm a
just
little
about getting
upset
work
about
in.
this Otani situation, man.
Oh,
Hopefully,
man. Come on. No Otani slander tonight, man.
all right, man. I ain't gonna say nothing, man. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm, I'm definitely gonna leave it alone.
However, if he wins the home run race by one, then we got to look back at this game.
Kind of gripe, right?
Facts.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, so we're gonna get into it, fellas. Peasy, do me a favor, man, and tell us about our sponsor.
For sure. Elevated Creations ROC LLC is Rochester's premier women-owned balloon and event decor specialist. Whether you're planning an office party, intimate birthday celebration, or luxurious wedding, Elevated Creations ROC LLC will transform your vision into unforgettable memories. Stunning balloon arrangement, custom centerpieces, welcome signs, and seating charts, they do it all. Elevated Creations ROC LLC is here to make your event exceptional, creating moments that wow your guests and make your special day truly extraordinary. So if you want to transform your event from ordinary to extraordinary, visit their website, elevatedcreationsroc.com, for more information. Elevated Creations, we were created to create.
Awesome. Shout out to Elevated Creations. We really appreciate your sponsorship. And if you are interested in becoming a sponsor of the show or advertising your business, you can do so by checking out the information in our description of our video on YouTube. Okay. All right. So now that we got that out of the way, it's awesome. It's always awesome to have sponsorship, man. And there's a lot of good businesses, a lot of good people out there doing a lot of good things, and it's cool to be able to partner with those people, as they do their thing. So,
Absolutely.
Peasy, appreciate you, man.
For
All right,
sure.
fellas, we ready to get into it?
Let's
Yes,
do it.
sir.
All right. For everybody at home, this is how the format works. So we introduce a topic, and we discuss that topic. We vote on it before we discuss it, and we use a show of fingers to show whether we agree with the topic or disagree. 5 being in agreement strongly, and 1 strongly disagreeing with the topic. So I don't anticipate a lot of ones tonight, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. What you guys think?
The suspense. Ooh.
All right, let's get into it, man. I'm gonna bring up the first topic. All right, here we go. So hold on one second. After suffering another major injury, Tiger Woods should retire from competitive golf and focus on being an ambassador for the sport. All right, let's get it, fellas. Let's go. Let's go. Let's vote. 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm at a 4. Zeke's at a 2. Peasy's at a 1. Peasy, tell us about that one, man.
Man, respect to Tiger Woods. Dude's a legend. Dude's a GOAT. He brought so many people into the sport that just didn't care about golf before. And I don't think they have a true ambassador to the sport that could replace his presence or what he brings to the table or the eyeballs he brings to the screen. And so, like, I mean, he don't need to retire from competitive golf because he hasn't been competitive in a while. If we just keeping it 100, and I don't think it makes a difference. The game needs to go. You know what I mean? And so whenever he's healthy, it's good. It's good just to see him out there. Whatever he could do, whatever capacity, even if it's ceremonially. I think they had I forget what's that dude. Even like the Arnold Palmer, he used to roll him out there well after his prime.
Roll there, yo.
Wow,
Right.
dude. You
You know what I mean?
disrespectful right now, Chris.
Yo, Arnold Palmer is the GOAT because he invented that iced tea lemonade, which is the bomb drink. If y'all
The
don't know
half and
about it, you
half.
got to check it out. That half and half is the joint right there. So if you guys don't know about it, I'm putting you on right now. But I mean, Tiger Woods, that's GOAT status. If I knew Tiger Woods was going to be on the screen, I would still watch. And so, like, to me, yeah, as long as he can get out there, like, bro, do your thing, enjoy it.
Okay, that's a pretty safe take. Big Z.
All right, so I gave it a 2, and I almost gave it a 1, but I didn't want to be that dude to disappoint Dave on the first topic. Good job, Chris. Um, but here's my thing. It all depends on your definition of competitive golf. Um, I think Tiger should step away from trying to compete on the PGA Tour, except for maybe the majors. Um, that's the Masters, the PGA Championship, the U.S. Open, and the British Open. Anita Tiger Woods is 49 years old. He will be 50. Actually, he just turned 49 in December, so he's got a little ways to go before he hits 50. Um, but that's a hard 49 years old that he's put on that body.
Facts.
Um, Tiger has put his body through a lot to be
Included
the
chasing women.
dominant player that he was. Um, and then, I mean, if you just step away from all the work that he's put into his body, all the injuries, that major accident, the man almost lost his right leg in a car accident. They almost had to amputate it, but they put him together with some chewing gum and paper clips and duct tape, and
He
he's
spent a
still
lot of
trying to
time
come
running
back
from his
from that.
wife too. Don't forget that.
That was a while ago. He caught that nine
Yeah,
iron
no,
upside the head. I
caught
wasn't
that
gonna talk about that, but
knee injury.
yeah. I mean, you look at the list of injuries from Tiger. I looked at a list. There were I think 23 injuries on the list, and then I realized that list was from like 2011.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, the man's been through a lot with his body, um, and he can't do at 49 what he was trying to do at 39, or and especially what he was doing at 29.
No doubt.
The amount of stress and time that you need to put into preparing your body to compete on the PGA Tour is ridiculous, and he can't blame anybody but himself because before Tiger showed up, you had guys that were out there looking like me golfing, um, smoking cigarettes, walking down the fairway,
Facts.
uh, put the
I know.
cigarette down, hit a driver, and take a sip of beer. I mean, they were just better than everybody at the local munis, but it didn't look too much different. I mean, yeah, you had your VJ Sings and your Ernie Els, but Phil Mickelson forever was his nickname was the Hefty Lefty. I
Right,
mean, Tiger came in and changed golfers' approaches to the game. Like now you got golf academies where you just work on your body. They have exercises geared toward the golf swing.
right.
So he had to try to compete with all these young dudes that were emulating him growing up, and it's just his body's wearing down. I didn't go any higher than a two because I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do if he lets his body heal up on the Champions Tour. Once you hit 50 years old, you can play on the Champions Tour. The courses are shorter. They only play 3 rounds. They let you drive around in a golf cart if you need to. I think he needs to humble himself and realize. I mean, you look at his accolades. He's
They're
got
off
the
the charts,
15
man.
majors.
They're. I mean, they don't. Nobody compares.
No, he's tied for the most career wins in PGA Tour history with 82. He's got the 15 majors on 3 behind Jack. I really hope he's not chasing that because that means he can put even more stress on his body trying to chase that.
Right.
And I believe he's the GOAT without it. I mean, people put their argument in for Jack. They put the argument in for Arnold Palmer, Gary Player, Lee Trevino. You got some names up there, but the not only what he did on the course, but what he's done off the course to help promote the game of golf. Tiger, he doesn't need to prove anything to anybody. So I think he should just focus on being healthy for the Champions Tour and being an ambassador for the game. Um, make him like the honorary all-time captain for the international teams, like the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup. If you want to make him the captain for the Olympic team, do that. Still keep him in front of the camera, but it doesn't have to be on the course.
I agree. I agree with that. However, I was at a 4,
Hmm.
and I'll tell you why. I think Tiger's best days are behind him.
For sure.
I feel like if he goes to the senior tour, he's just going to wreck his body even more. And as I watched him and his son Charlie, I watched him follow his son around. Um, I actually think that his son could be just as good, if not better than him. And I say that because Tiger Woods got it from his dad, and he got the coaching. He got everything that he needed to be the player and the person that he is right now from his father. Charlie will benefit from getting what Tiger got from his dad and from Tiger as well. I would love to see Tiger just I wouldn't say ride off into the sunset, but I would like to see him just get behind Charlie and push him like Earl pushed Tiger. Um, I would like to see Tiger actually get involved, possibly with the game. I feel like the game of golf is under attack right now with the live, and I feel like, and when I say under attack, I kind of feel like PGA Tour does need some competition, but there's a way that that competition should come about, and I don't think it should be like a league coming in to take over. I think there should be. I think they can coexist, and I think right now they're getting along. Last I heard, but I don't think the game of golf should be totally taken over by another golf organization or another league. I think the PGA Tour is much needed. I think Tiger Woods could do a lot to help these young golfers go to that next level with coaching, and just like you said, make him some type of captain, for these teams for these tournaments that they play. But get him out there more out front, not because when he's injured, he's nowhere. You know what I'm saying? You're like you may get a press release or a statement from him talking about how his recovery is going and stuff like that. that version of Tiger Woods does no good for anybody, and it's not good for the game. I mean, we obviously know the game of golf is where it is today because of Tiger Woods. Purses are where they are today because of Tiger Woods. The fact that the Live can even offer the type of purses that they're offering, that wouldn't have been heard of if Tiger Woods hadn't come along. They wouldn't even dream of offering the type of purses and money that they offer to these players today because the bar has been set so high already because of Tiger Woods. So, um, yeah, I don't know, man. I have mixed feelings about it. The more I think about it, I was at a 4, and the more that I feel like I'm kind of in between. I don't want to see Tiger Woods walk away from the game, but I want to see Tiger Woods have a life after the game. I don't want to see him showing up to tournaments to watch his son, having to be on a buggy or something like that because he can't walk. You know what I mean? So for me, I just think that that's a piece there that I just don't want. I don't want to see. All right. So Liz Ortiz, who is Liz Jones, Mrs. Jones, and let's be real. All due respect, but it's time to stop. He's looking very tired. All right.
I get that, and that's why I say he should at least be able to like give it a shot on the Champions Tour. Like I said, the courses are shorter. You only play in the 3 rounds. You don't have to walk. Like I when I go golfing, my dad will be like, "Hey, let's walk," and I'm like, "I didn't come to the golf course to exercise, man. I came to have fun." Like people like I think they underestimate how much walking those courses, especially some of these courses, they're not flat. Like you're going up and down, walking miles around, and when you got a bum leg, that can be rough. So I think if you take the relaxed rules of the Champions Tour, you mind you, when he hits the Champions Tour, he's gonna be a rookie all over again.
Yeah.
So he's still Tiger. Like I watched some of the TGL, the technology golf league or whatever it is, where they're hitting into the simulator. I mean, the
Yeah.
swing
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
still there. He's still got that killer instinct. I just think the grueling nature of the actual PGA Tour is a little much for him. So if he still wants to play, we're all athletes. It's hard to admit when you ain't got it no more. And he has a bigger drive than probably all three of us put together. So for him to admit and say, you know what, I can't do this anymore, when one day in a matter of months, maybe a year or whatever, he just ruptured his Achilles. I'm not sure what the recovery time is on that one, but he's gonna wake up one day, he's gonna feel good, and he's gonna go out, he's gonna swing the club, and it's gonna feel good, and he's gonna be like, you know what, I can still do this.
Yeah.
So I mean, the best of the best, a lot of times, unfortunately, they get carried out on their shield. So I mean, if he feels like he can still do it, um, hopefully he's able to admit that. All right, I might not be able to do it on the PGA Tour. This is a different breed. These guys are a different animal than what it was when I was in my prime. But I can go still win if I play on the Senior Tour or the Champions Tour
Right.
and continue his legacy there.
Yeah, real talk. I see old men playing golf all the time. So like, if he's healthy enough, man, I don't care about his
Casey,
age. That's
what's
still
old, man?
Tiger. Uh,
Me,
You about to get put in a timeout. So go ahead, man.
my
What's
bad,
old?
Dave. Wait, let me just check in. How old are you, bro?
Liz, how old is Dave? Put it in the chat.
Oh Lord. Nah,
Lowest spot.
I feel what you're saying. I feel what you're saying though, man, because I see all of these older cats. I'm talking like in their 70s, man, playing in the senior tour. Now, do those? I don't know the Zeke, but do those? What are they called? The when they get the wins, what are they called though? They're called. You know how Tiger was chasing Jack
The
for
majors?
majors.
Yeah,
Do the senior majors count towards career majors? They don't, do they?
I don't believe so.
Once,
No.
okay, so once you leave the PGA Tour, it's a whole different beast.
Yeah, the majors are you got the Masters, you got the U.S. Open, the PGA Championship, and they used to call it the British Open, but now it's the Open
So
over in
seniors don't
Europe.
they don't get invites to those anymore?
They do. I mean, if you want to play in those majors, you can, but they have their own majors on their tour that
Gotcha.
wouldn't count towards the career major total. It has to be on the PGA Tour. So he's got a lifetime exemption to just about any tournament he wants to play in. So if he takes a step back from the PGA Tour, goes and gets his bearings on the Champions Tour, and one day, 5 years from now, he's like, you know what? I want to give it another crack. Nobody's gonna turn down Tiger Woods.
Nah, they not. They not. All right, fellas. Great,
That's
great.
that's a wife response in the chat right there, bro. That's
Oh,
definitely a
is it?
wife
Let's see,
response.
man.
What
Where
happened? What I see?
She said Dave is forever young.
Oh, boo,
y'all some haters, bro.
boo.
That's some haters, man. Y'all hating for real, man. It's all good, man. All right, fellas. That was a great segment. Let's jump into the next one. You guys ready for that? All right, so
Yeah,
here we go.
for sure.
This is uh this is where the rubber meets the road, fellas. All right, got it up there. After seeing the footage of the baton track meet incident, the act was clearly intentional and therefore criminal. All right, let's get right into it, man. We're gonna vote right away on this one. All right, fellas, let's go. Three, two, one. Okay, I'm at a 4. Zeke's at a 3. Peasy's at a 2. Zeke, let's start with you.
Uh,
Actually, let's do
Actually,
this.
roll
yeah,
the footage
let's
so for
let's see the
people who
clip.
didn't.
Let's see the clip because we want, for those of you who have not seen it, I literally just watched this for the first time the other day. I've seen it all over the news, and I was like, man, these people are, I'm hearing people talking about it and whatever, but let's check it out. Let's play it real quick. All right, here we go. Bob,
Doink.
do we need to roll it back? Need another one?
Nah,
Huh?
No, yeah, I don't think. Yeah, but
No?
I'll set up the story. So this is kind of a local story for me, because as some of you may know, I live in Southern Virginia, and so I actually passed the school that the young lady is from, IC Norcom, in my commutes, and so we should mention like the newsworthy kind of details of this case for context in our discussion, I think. And so uh, she's a senior in high school, Alea Everett. In the video that you guys saw, she's seen hitting, I'm not really sure how to say her first name, Kaylin Tucker, while running in a 4x200 meter relay at the state final in early March. As they rounded the corner, from you saw from the video, Tucker was later diagnosed with concussion, after she was struck in the head. And they're also reporting that allegedly she had a cranial fracture. And so Tucker in her interview actually confirms, and Tucker is the girl that got struck in the head. She actually confirms that they were jostling earlier in the match, earlier in the meet, and then Everett is claiming that the incident was purely incidental. To her credit, she's claiming this was purely incidental, and without malicious intent. And so Everett is now facing misdemeanor charges. And so she was crying all over the news and everything.
Right, okay. All right.
So
So what's your take?
you want mine or Zeke to start it off?
nah. Go ahead.
Let's go with you.
Okay, so the story hits home a little bit for me, because I'm a really, really fierce competitor. And so like I guess that's why I gave it like a 2, because like part of me wants to say that, yeah, I mean, it's hard to deny that from the footage that was intentional, because you see her rotate and then swing forward with the baton, and it's just such an unnatural motion that I think you'll be really hard pressed to win in court that that was just some kind of accident. But to her credit, she's claiming that, what allegedly happened was that her arm got caught behind her, and then in the course of running, it just happened to whip forward in a fast motion, which you guys can make kind of your own determinations. But uh, in the heat of battle, like emotions get the best of you. And so for those of us out there who have played sports, you're competing. If you're a really strong competitor, you always want to win. But and not for nothing. Like, I mean, this is a young girl. She's in high school, and we've seen fights in major sports. I mean, you see it happen all the time in hockey. People get upset and they start throwing hands. You see it happen in baseball where the brawls come out, and you got people flying everywhere, and Pedro Martinez throwing people on the floor, old men on the floor and junk. We've seen it happen in basketball. Chris Childs giving Kobe a two-piece, pop pop right in the face. And so, like, this is what happens when competitors get on the big stage. You know what I mean? And so, I think the line has always kind of been. Oh, I can't hear you, David. You trying to chime in? You got to unmute.
My
But
bad. I said this is high school track, bro. This ain't the Olympics.
well, no, and I
The
get that.
Olympic
But
trials.
what
You know
I'm
what I'm saying?
saying, what I'm saying is that in competitive sports, things get heated. And I think the line, and I think this is why this story was so sensational, is because the line in sports has always been no weapons. Like when hockey players get into fight, they throw down their gloves, they throw down their stick. Why? Because we're gonna duke this out like men. You know what I mean? And like, in baseball, they got bats. You know what I mean? But when they get into fights, people ain't using bats, right? They duking it out, and so it's always been a man to man thing. But I think what's kind of like crazy about this one is that we're talking about track, and like it's a non-contact sport, so it's just kind of like weird to see something go down like that. But I can relate to the spike in emotion that happens. And so, like, the thought that came to my mind, and I guess kind of like what was forefront was just like, man, I could imagine being in a situation where spike in emotion happens, and boom, you react. And that's how a lot of crimes in America actually happens when you think about it. There's crimes of passion and then crimes of premeditation. And the law actually lays out a difference in the penalty. When you premeditate something, you receive a harsher penalty than when it's like a crime of passion where it's just kind of like a heat in the moment. So the law has some precedent for this. Now, the what came to my mind, honestly, was Ephesians 4:26, where it talks about be angry and do not sin. You know what I mean? And so in sports, obviously you're going to get angry, either at yourself or at your opponent. But I think the sin comes when that turns into hate. You know what I mean? When that becomes into hate. Now, I think there's levels to hate, and this is something that may be debatable too. But I think there's actually levels to hate because I think it's healthy somewhat, right? I think we all love sports where you have that rivalry, where you got two enemies clashing and they hate each other. There's vitriol. I love watching that, but that's a different kind of hate, right? That kind of hate is the kind of hate like, man, I hate your logo. I hate your jersey. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, I don't wish you die, but I wish your team like gets eliminated and you're done. Go home. You know what I mean? Like that's a different kind of hate. And so like I think the sin is where that hate becomes something with vitriol. You know what I mean? Where like now you're actually trying to hurt somebody. And I think that's where she crossed the line when she wielded that baton as a weapon. Obviously that did cross the line. But those like for the audience out there, bro, like those split-second decisions will cost you your life. You know what I mean? Those split-second decisions will cost you so life. You want something so bad that you will actually kill for it. You know what I mean?
No
And
doubt.
to her credit, like she was crying afterwards and saying, like, man, like if you know me, I'm not like that. I would never do something like that. Like, you know what I mean, on purpose. It was an accident. It was an accident. But you know, I think you could clearly see that, like she was that was intentional. But you know, sometimes you want something so bad that like it just causes you to react, and like you'll almost kill for it. But you know, how many take their life for hard times, right? You know what I mean? How many that only feels like it will last? It feels like pain or suffering, or you see someone running past you and you're there like, this is mine, I gotta have it. And like, you know what I mean? Like you can lose your life in a split second decision. And so it just brought to my mind, that pain, suffering, weeping may endure for a night, but joy come in the morning. And so like, it may feel like your world is ending, but it's not. You know what I mean? Like take a deep breath, back away from the situation, whatever you guys may be going through out there, like, yo, bro, it's not gonna last forever. Brighter days can be ahead. You know what I mean? You may miss out on your opportunity to to accomplish something that you really, really wanted to accomplish. And I know that it's a bummer, it sucks, but there's another side of that road. And so I guess my final kind of point on that would just be this: the other part of that scripture verse, you know what I mean, that uh, be angry and do not sin, is that don't let the sun go down uh, um, on what essentially without making amends, right? And so I think that's a big part of the problem with this situation is that even in the interviews, Tucker's mom, the lady that got hit, was saying like, "Yo, she didn't even come and check up on my daughter. Like the right thing to do is go check up on her, make sure that she's okay." You know what I mean? And she didn't even do that. And so, like, I think if you recognize your wrongdoing and you repent, the faster you repent, the better it will be for you. You know
All
what I
right,
mean?
Z, get in here, man. Because real quick, Anissa Vargas said she drew her hand back, and then she tried to cover up with flinging her arm around afterwards. Shaking my head. I love track and field, and the relay race was one of my favorites. It's a shame that she disrespected uh, this race. Um, I got Z. Go ahead, man. I got a lot to say, but Z, get in there.
I'll make it quick. Um, I gave it a 3, but then I recalled uh her explanation in a clip that I saw after the incident happened, and then I listened to Chris and his kind of point on it. I'm gonna give it a 4.5. Um, this was absolutely intentional. I'm watching the video. She said something about losing her balance, and that's where she was trying to catch her balance, and that's when she hit the girl. I watched that video plenty of times. It didn't seem one time that she lost her balance at all. She looked at the girl before she drew back and hit her. Um, Chris, you know me. I'm competitive too. We shared many fields of battle before. I'm as competitive as the next guy, and I'm taking it from the point of view of the girl who got hit. If I did all that work to hawk you down and pass you, and instead of taking your L, you gonna take the baton and smack me upside the head, you better hope it knocks me out. Because if it don't, I'm coming for you. Um, that there's no explanation that she can give that makes me think that was an accident. I, do I want her to go to jail for it? No. Do I want her to have the fear of possibly going to jail? Go sit in the courtroom. Go face a judge. Go uh, have your fate, quote unquote, determined by a jury or peers. I don't want her to go to jail for it, but I want her to have to think about the consequences of her actions. Like, oh, well, she's in the video talking about, oh, well, you got to hear my side of it, bro. We saw your side of it. We saw what happened, and the explanation that you gave just made it worse. Yeah, she nudged you. Yeah, you didn't like that. You didn't have to hit her. You should have ran faster. You shouldn't have let her get to that point where she was able to pass you. You on the field. You competing. Do what you got to do to win. And if you get passed up, it's gonna suck. But take that L and move on to the next one. Train harder. You sit there and smack her upside the head with a baton. The girl got a concussion, a fractured skull, and your first thing is, oh well, I'm a victim too because everybody thinks I'm a bad person. It's hard to say you're not. I mean, that okay, good people do bad things, so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But at least fess up. Yeah, I did it. I was wrong. Um, I hope she's okay. I'm gonna learn from my actions. None of that. It was, oh, it was an accident. She shouldn't have nudged me. Blah blah blah. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh man, that's a great take. All right, so for me, I got one question for this whole situation. Where in the world are the adults? Okay. Now, this girl, we've seen the video. I literally just watched the video for the first time yesterday. And I'm thinking, man, this I'm hearing about it. I'm like, it can't be that bad. I watched it and I'm like, yo, she domed that girl, man. She knew what she was doing. All right.
Yes, she did.
She did. This girl has said everything. Oh, I got struck by lightning and my arm just flinched. And I was skipping rocks. I've heard everything. I heard every excuse from this girl, man.
Right.
She domed that girl and she did it on purpose, man. She wanted to win that race. She said the girl was coming in her lane. She didn't. Her feet were in her lane. She just straight up domed this girl. My question is, where are the adults? You want to know where the adults are? They're in front of cameras. I think it was her uncle. Her uncle was like, people need to reevaluate what they think they saw. I know what I saw, bro. I saw your niece slash daughter, whatever, try to take this girl out with a baton because she didn't, because she was losing. Now, I didn't give this a 5 because all of the nonsense of like, the misdemeanor, I think that's petty. Like, the whole like charging her and stuff. I think that's dumb, man. They need to take these girls and put them in a room, minus the adults, get a moderator, and let them talk. A mediator, and let them talk this thing out. I think it's dumb for them to like talk about criminal charges. Um, the rally that they were supposedly had was a complete joke. There was like she said, they said, oh, we had all these supporters that came out to support us and to back her. They had like 50 people, and I think most of them were her relatives. It's just dumb, man. It's like the whole situation is dumb. These are kids competing at a high school level. The emotions got the best of this young lady. She bopped this girl upside her head. She meant to do it. All right. She got caught. And now the parents are out here, they're making her the victim somehow. And now I heard the NAACP, which in my opinion is it worth the paper that you could write NAACP on these days, because they get involved in all the wrong stuff, but that's a whole different situation. They have no part in this, man. Why they're even getting involved in this is beyond me. The adults need to be more of an example in this situation. Her parents need to tell her, you need to get in front of the camera and you need to do the right thing. Even though you let this story go on and on and on about how you didn't mean to do it and how all these different excuses and stuff, they need to sit her butt down and say, listen, it's time for you you need to fess up. All right. It's time for you to fess up, sit down in front of everybody and say, hey, I did this thing and it was wrong and I apologize for it. But
Facts.
I would, if it, aside from the the criminal stuff, I would have gave it a 5. But I'm not trying to see this little girl's uh her life, ruined. It's bad enough, man, that this thing is playing out the way it is. And I can imagine these kids never imagined that this thing would go to the heights that it has. But with social media and all of this stuff, it's never gonna die down. That's why it's time for the adults to step in and be like, all right, let's throw some water on this fire and have her come out and make an apology and say, you know, I'm sorry I did this. I did it and I messed up. It's just that simple. I think that's where we're at right now. The adults
No,
need to start adulting.
I, I agree with you, brother. I think you're taking spot on, and I think that's part of the problem that I had with this was that, she when we're talking about like being truly repentant, making excuses ain't it. You know what I
Oh
mean?
man.
And like I think she was making an excuse. And on top of that, I would say like she could have made this situation so much better if when that incident first happened, she went immediately to her and just repented. Just admit it. Just admit it. There's no denying it. And I think the problem that I have with the situation now, and I think that she needs to like, just really evaluate herself in this whole like you ain't see what you thought you saw is only digging the hole deeper. I really think she needs to get to the point where she's not just and this it goes scriptural as well, but where she's not just repentant or sorry because of the looming consequences, but she's sorry because of the action itself. And so, like, from Tucker's standpoint, I understand. I mean, I'm with you, Dave. I think misdemeanor for, you know what I mean? I think that's a little much. But, like, no, I'm with you. I think she needs to be show like true repentance for like the actual action and not just, well, I don't want to be guilty of no misdemeanor. Those are two separate things to me. One shows me you haven't really accepted what you did and are mature enough to to receive that kind of forgiveness because you're not really apologizing for nothing. You're apologizing for the accident. It
Right.
wasn't an accident. It was intentional. You need to apologize for the intentional, malicious intent of your heart. And then, yeah, we could talk about forgiveness. But as long as you're denying it, like what, like getting in a room, what is there to talk about? You know what I mean?
No doubt. And so, like Liz said, she's not telling the truth. The girl had a concussion, um, you know, and you got to hit somebody pretty hard, for somebody to get a concussion. An accidental whack wouldn't have caused that kind of damage. So, and my last thing that I'll say, and I'll wrap this thing up. You're If she didn't intend to hit this girl, when she was running and she hit her, when she saw that she hit her, uh, she would have she would have stopped, and uh she would have gone to check on the young lady to see what, gone off the track with her to see what happened.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? That's the natural reaction of an accidental hitting somebody. Forget the race. I want to make sure this person I just hit is okay. But she didn't do that. She didn't care. She wanted her out of the way, and she domed her, and that was it, man. This
Caught her with
is
that Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan move.
no doubt, man. She had ill intentions.
Yo,
You know what
on
I'm
a
saying?
side note though, what's NAACP doing in here? Like, it's not a racially motivated
They
incident.
high glancing, man. That's all they doing. They high glancing. They just, oh, this is our time to get up in here and get some exposure, man. They all need to go home, man. Because they definitely are not going to bring the adult piece that's needed to this situation. You feel what I'm saying? And, forgive me, man. I've not had, I'm going to just leave it alone, man. I've just not had good interactions with the NAACP. And I went to
If
Tuskegee.
if if I had to give a guess, the NAACP probably wants to step in to make sure that she's not unfairly treated in this incident, especially if they start talking about misdemeanors and charging her and everything. That might be where they stepped in. Other than that, I don't know.
You know who does that, man? Your lawyer does that.
Right.
Does she have a lawyer? Can she afford a lawyer?
Come on, man. There's lawyers salivating out there right now to get on it.
Right.
What's his name? Crump. Where's Crump, man?
Who's Crump?
Benjamin Crump, is that his name? Crump, the dude the super lawyer that shows up everywhere.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of lawyers willing to take this pro bono. I mean, it'll make a
Nobody
name
taking
for
this case,
themselves.
bro. No, because they would have taken it already. Zeke, you know what I'm talking about. You know the
It's a
lawyer I'm
losing
talking about.
case for
I
sure.
know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name, but I know who you're talking about.
They're not touching this thing, man, because they know it's a waste of time. This is the bad publicity that they don't need. Nobody touching this.
Yeah, but I mean, shout out to for the families involved in this situation. It's terrible that a senior has to be facing these kind of consequences so young from a thing that's supposed to
Yeah.
just
All
get
right.
people off the streets.
I feel like we giving this enough time, man. I feel like it's it was on purpose, bro. You can't change my mind about it. I think it's just completely ridiculous, man. All right, fellas. I think it's time for it to happen today. What you think?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I like this one.
All right, man. This one is a good one, man. It happened today. All right. So in 1995, Michael Jordan rejoins the NBA Chicago Bulls after 17 months of trying a career in baseball. He scored 19 points in a 103-96 loss to the Indiana Pacers in Indianapolis. The GOAT. The GOAT came back and dropped 19.
Nah, let's not talk about that 19. Let's talk about that double nickel.
That dude, the double nickel? What about it?
That was not too long after he came back, and he had to remind people who he was, and he did it in the Garden, which was just made it that much more glorious.
Yo, no, let's not talk about that. Let's not
The
talk about
Fresh,
GOAT.
fresh
Yeah, I
off the
was a
fresh
kid,
off the
man.
baseball diamond,
Listen,
he
man.
was like,
Listen, man. No.
I may be a little rusty, but I still dominate y'all.
I
Bro,
wish he would have said,
he took the cleats off, man, and just I think he played in his uniform. I think he wanted to, but they wouldn't let him. But he came straight. He came straight
Straight from the diamond.
straight from the farm, man. It was like, listen, get me in there. 19. That dude
Yep.
dropped 19 straight out of cleats, man. Come on. Who doing that? Who doing
I
it?
think my favorite story from that was it Nick Anderson in the playoffs against the Lakers or against the Magic, where he made the comment after they won a game, 45 ain't 23.
Yeah.
And then the next game, Mike came out and warmed up with his jacket still on, and they announced him wearing number 45, Michael Jordan. And he didn't take the jacket off until just before the tip. And
Yeah.
Horace Grant was like, "Oh crap."
Yep. He knew
You
it,
know
man.
what's you know what's crazy is I'm thinking about this topic. I'm there like, man, like as the Knicks fan in me was there like, man, I wish that dude stayed retired. My man Patrick Ewing to have a couple chips. My man John Starks to have a couple chips. But you know, as I look years later and I can appreciate it a little more, like I'm glad for Michael Jordan because without him, LeBron would be the GOAT. And that's a much worse reality. Let's just keep it real, America.
I think LeBron still got a little ways to go before you can't skip straight from LeBron to Mike. I mean,
What? My man is out here
you
trying to taunt Stephen A. Smith and stuff. Like my man is definitely not GOAT status after that, man.
This
Like
dude
my
out here
man
I
taunting
is
senior
saw,
citizens, man. Come on, man. What's going on? Play
you know
ball.
what? One day, I'm gonna try to make an argument for Steph Curry over LeBron.
Ooh.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and
well, they're tied in chips in his era.
yeah, but if you look at, I'm not gonna do this now. Nope.
Yeah, that's a
Next
whole
topic.
conversation right there. That's a whole
Right, right.
conversation right there.
We're not gonna do this now.
We
Let's
not
stick
doing
to the
it?
topics.
Come on, man. Okay,
We
we're not doing it.
yeah, we
Nah,
maybe
not
we can do
tonight.
that next week. Tune in next week when we talk about LeBron James and Michael Jordan and who's the GOAT.
Nah,
Uh,
that's ESPN.
that's a teaser. Yeah, Charles Barkley would be mad at us. Man, real
You
sports shows don't
fools.
eat that.
Hey, yo, that's crazy. All right, fellas. So real quick, before we get into our last topic, I want to give a quick shout out to my people over at Opposition Radio, real quick. All right. Opposition Radio uh, is a 24-hour internet radio station, and I just, I know I say this every week, man, but I'm one of the owners of Opposition Radio, and um, we we really pride ourselves on being able to deliver, quality music, Christian hip hop music. So Opposition Radio will feature Christian hip hop, EDM, R&B, reggae, Latin, and pop. And we, like I said, we spend it 24/7. Um, William Cater is one of my favorite artists, man, that we have in rotation over at Opposition Radio, and along with a lot of other artists. But William Cater is like one of my all time favorite uh, Christian hip hop artists. Brothers from New York City, and his testimony is just phenomenal. If you've never heard of William Cater, check him out. Last name is spelled Cato. William Cater. I'm sorry, Cata, William Cater, and he's phenomenal. Um, but again, check out Opposition Radio. You can go to any internet browser and go to the opsradio.live. And when you get to the website, it's a little play button in the top left hand corner. The player will pop open, and you'll be blessed with some good Christian artists performing in different genres of music. So when you get a chance, just check out Opposition Radio. All right, appreciate everybody and appreciate the support. All right, let's do this. I think it is time, brother Zeke, to jump into your topic that you brought forth. I thought this was a great topic. It did. I think it got a little pushback from somebody on this panel, but it's all good. Was that me?
Nah, that's me. My bad.
Okay, I just making sure that our timer wasn't a timer. So all right, so let's do this. I'm gonna read this real quick. So ESPN had a list of top 5 women college basketball players. Despite all of their records and accolades, Caitlin Clark didn't make it because she's never won a college championship. All right. So let's jump into this real quick. Jump into this last topic. Let me throw this up here. All right. In order to be considered for the Mount Rushmore of your sport, you need to have at least one championship during your career. All right, let's get into it, fellas. Let's get a vote on this. Let's go. Three, two, one.
Mm,
I'm at a
okay.
five. PZ's four. Zeke, you three?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Zeke, this is your topic, man. I'm gonna let you jump it off.
Um. Yeah. I.
You're
Everybody
thinking about it, aren't
knows.
you?
No, 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 no. Because I'm thinking about a conversation I had with Peasy before we jumped on. Everybody knows I lean heavy towards baseball.
Yep.
Um, and we were talking about like the goats of that sport who have never won a championship, and you got your Barry Bonds and your Ken Griffey Juniors and your Mike Trouts, and um, then you think about basketball. I mean, basketball, I think you can break down, you can do overall GOAT, but if you do like the GOATs of your era or even GOATs by position, um, there's a lot of players like your Charles Barkleys and your Karl Malones and your Patrick Ewings who never won championships, but if you think about the eras that they played in, they were probably considered the best in their position, and they're on the list of all-time greats of the game. I know basketball has they had their top 50 and their top 75. Um, and you'll see a lot of names on those lists that never won championships. But a big argument in basketball is how many rings you got. Not so much in baseball because um, baseball is Mike Trout. You look at Mike Trout when he's healthy, he's considered one of, if not the best player in baseball. I think he's been to the playoffs once and never won a playoff game. You think about Barry Bonds. Um, Allegations aside, I mean, I've said this before on this podcast. Barry Bonds had two separate Hall of Fame careers.
Indeed, he
Never won a
did.
championship. So, I think it's situational. Certain sports, um, like golf, um, you look at Phil Mickelson for a long time. It was Phil and Tiger, top two in the game. Um, I think it was the Masters that he never won. He never won that tournament in Augusta, and a lot of people held that against him. He won a lot. Probably didn't win as much as he could have because, like a lot of people who played basketball in the '90s against Jordan, he was playing in the era with Tiger, and it was hard to win when Tiger was on the course. But Phil did his fair share of winning, but he paled in comparison because not only did Tiger have the overall victories, but Tiger had the majors. And Phil finally broke through, but until that point, people were questioning, will he ever do it? Is he one of the greatest? Can you consider him a great if he doesn't have at least a handful of majors or whatever? Um, so it's all situational. Would we consider Serena the greatest if she didn't have? I mean, she's got what 23 majors or something like that. Um, I don't know. I don't think anybody considers Venus one of the greats. She's got her share, but she didn't win as much as her sister. Venus was dope.
Yep.
But she doesn't get the consideration for being the GOAT. Um, LeBron for the longest time, he had all the stats, all the accolades. It wasn't until he won that first championship in Miami, and people are like, well, all right, can he get another one? Now he's chasing Mike. Which I mean, I love Mike, but everybody's chasing Bill Russell. Um, but
Facts.
as far as rings,
Hmm.
but you look at overall. Um, when you talk about the Mount Rushmore, nobody's gonna put Patrick Ewing on the Mount Rushmore. Nobody's gonna put Charles Barkley on the Mount Rushmore. Great players, um, but they weren't able to get their team over the hump. Um, when you look at baseball, my favorite sport, it's hard because you got so many different eras and so many different factors that went into how the game was played. You gotta break it down. Like basketball has always been same size court, but baseball you got all kinds of different technology and how the ball was made, how the bats were made. Um, so it's hard to say, oh, Babe Ruth is the greatest of all time. I've seen some of these fields that Babe Ruth played on, the polo grounds. What is it like, 70 inches down the lines?
Yes.
So I mean, I love Willie Mays, but I'm like, how many of those home runs went less than 250 feet? I mean, if you hit a ball the right way in the polo grounds, you can either get an inside the park home run because the center field was 500 feet. So if you get it by a diving center fielder, you're gonna go all the way around, or you can hit a weak pop fly down the line, and the outfielder think he's got a beat on it, runs into the wall because he didn't realize the fence was that close. It's hard to quantify and compare eras like that. So if you go by era, then it's easier to get somebody on the Rushmore if they don't have a championship. All around, you got to have at least a couple to make it on the all time Mount Rushmore, in my opinion.
All right, great take. I'm gonna go next. Peasy, I'll let you wrap up.
Sure.
All right, so when I think of, so we're talking about Mount Rushmore, right? When I think of Mount Rushmore, I think about the pinnacle of whatever career you had, right? You were so influential, man, that they carved your likeness, your face, your whole head, your face into the side of a mountain for generations upon generations to see. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln, Rushmore. That's our Mount Rushmore for the United States, right? If you look at each one of those gentlemen with their stories, it's not Abraham Lincoln would have been if. It's not Teddy Roosevelt would have been if. You feel what I'm saying? It's not Thomas Jefferson would have been if. Um, when I think of Mount Rushmore, the first head for of sports, the first head that goes on there is Bill Russell, without question. Not only because of what he did on the court, but because who he was as a person. All right. There there is no what ifs with Bill Russell. The only what if with Michael Jordan is what if Jordan hadn't left? How many championships would he have won? You feel what I'm saying? With LeBron James, is you know what if he didn't go to college and have what if he didn't go into the NBA when he was fresh out of high school and didn't have the extra years? You know what I'm saying? Bron has chips. Don't get me wrong, but when I think of the figureheads that have made the NBA what it is, like when I think NBA today, LeBron James ain't it. As great as Charles Barkley was, he's not it. You feel what I'm saying? There's a lot of players that actually have chips that I don't think belong on Mount Rushmore of sports. Ironically, with Mike Trout is arguably going to go down as one of the greatest players ever. But what if he wasn't hurt so much? You know what I'm saying? Mike Trout is never going to win. He's never going to win a chip, man. Not if not staying where he is. And even if there's all this talk about him coming to the Yankees, even if he came to the Yankees, he's not going to win a chip there either because he's going to be too hurt where he won't even be playing. He won't. He's not going to be a factor. So I look at all of these. I look at players in sports, man, and we're too quick to crown people, the gold and all of this stuff. Oh, they belong on Mount Rushmore and blah blah blah. People don't really even think about our our natural, our United States Mount Rushmore and what those people on that mountain represent and what their accolades and what they bring to the table. And I think if people thought about that more, they would be less quick to throw just anybody. what is your Mount Rushmore of this and Mount Rushmore of that? These dudes, man, there's a lot of good players, great players that are just common players compared to the folks that belong on the Mount Rushmore of their sport. Um, Barry Bonds, man, like I cannot see how Barry Bonds is not on the Mount Rushmore of our sport. But there's so many that could be there. You feel what I'm saying? There's so many, and that's what makes baseball so beautiful, man. I think the beauty of that sport is what is that there's so many people that could be on the Mount Rushmore of baseball that that defines it in my eyes, and I'm biased as the greatest game ever created, ever played, because you have that caliber of player that we could literally build a Mount Rushmore. Literally, Zeke, I'm not even kidding. 25, 30 heads on it, man, because we had that many dynamic players that played the game, and a lot of them didn't. They never won the big, won a championship. So I'm not so quick to just throw people on the Mount Rushmore of sports in any sport. Um, and a lot of people, they get sentimental about it, and it's like, well, LeBron's, he's the scoring leader, he's blah 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 blah. I don't care about any of that stuff. And yeah, he's got rings. I don't care about any of that stuff. It's when you think about that sport in its totality, since its inception, is that player somebody that you think about? And LeBron James ain't it for me, man. Charles Barkley ain't it for me. I love Shaq, but Shaq is probably the most dominant center to ever play the game, right? Dominant center, right? But is he what is he going on Mount Rushmore over I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Is he going over Bill Russell? No, he's not. Is he Zeke?
Now, he wouldn't even put himself up there over Bill Russell.
He wouldn't, man. And that's the beauty of that, man. So he knows better. So that's my take on it, man. I'm not gonna keep blowing on that, but um Peasy, let's hear from you, man.
Yeah, I gave it a 4, but that was mainly because I think it's sport dependent. Like I think most sports you absolutely need to have a championship to consider yourself. Not well, obviously the GOAT. I think you need a championship, but to be on a Mount Rushmore, I think you do in most sports. Baseball might be that exception because like basketball, I think it's a must because you can control the game. Like if you're a really good player, you can control the game on offense and on defense, and you can be involved in every play. We don't see that as the case in baseball. Like you could be the man. Like look, I mean, the perfect example is what we're seeing right now. Like Otani may be like the one player in our sports history that can have the kind of dominance inside of the game of baseball more than any and impact any game more than any others. Like this man can pitch, he can hit, he can step to the plate, hit a home run, and then shut out the team and win you a playoff game all by himself. He's capable of that.
Facts. Let
But
me let me
even
say
with
this real
that
quick.
said,
Let me say I'm just want to touch on that, Chris, because if you think about it, man, as much as I get on Otani and I get sick of hearing his name and stuff like that, that's for selfish reasons, man, because of the whole thing with him versus Judge, whole thing, narrative that they've built. But exactly what you're saying, bro. If they needed if Otani was pitching last year and they needed that dude to come in to pitch like during the World Series,
yeah.
if they said, you know what, we want to bring you in for the last 3 innings to finish this game out, they could have done it. And he could have completely changed the narrative. He could have completely changed the landscape of a game, as a winning game. What other player right now in MLB could do that?
Well, that's kind of my point. Is like, I
That's
mean,
what I'm
even
saying.
Otani wouldn't get a championship if he stayed playing with Trout. If he
Right,
stayed on the Anaheim Angels, we wouldn't be having this kind of conversation or hype about Otani. And this dude literally dictates like entire games. Like he can win it. He's like the one MLB player unicorn that can win you a game himself. You know what I
right,
mean? And so like most of the time when you're talking about baseball, like a Griffey, like my dude was my favorite player growing up, man. And I'm a Mets fan, and he was my favorite player growing up. And it was just how special he was at the plate. But even being at center field, he could make all the plays, and it could result in not winning the game. You know what I mean? And so that's not the case. Like in basketball, if you can have that kind of impact, usually you can will your team to victory. Same thing with football. Like, if from the quarterback position anyway. And like if you're a real special quarterback, you can sometimes get your team there. And so I think in those situations you have to get a championship if you want to be considered on Mount Rushmore. But you know what I mean? I don't think that's the end all be all because when you're talking about a team sport, you can only control what you can control. And so that's why the beauty of baseball is like you have literal numbers for everything and every activity that you perform. And so you could judge it outside of wins and losses. And so that's why I think in baseball, like we can kind of say, well, this is different because we have actual numbers for almost every action you do on the field that we can make, more sound determinations.
No doubt. No
Quick question, Pacey, because you touched on something that I thought about when you mentioned footballs and quarterbacks. Um, Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, um, who else? Let's just stick with Jim Kelly and Dan Marino right now.
Yeah.
Would you say Terry Bradshaw is better than any one of them?
No, for sure. I think
And Dave,
I think
Dave might be able to answer this a little better because um, I know you're forever young. Shout out to Liz, but you saw Bradshaw play.
doubt.
well, I mean, what was that dude from that won the chip with Tampa Bay? Brad Johnson.
Brad
Like,
Johnson.
you know what I mean? Like,
Brad
and
Johnson has a ring. Trent Dilfer has a ring.
Trent
Nick
Dilfer.
Foles has a ring.
We're talking about dudes that are not
Whole
just
herd
nowhere
is.
close to Mount Rushmore. They might not be close to an all-star game, bro. And so, like, for sure, team sports, you can win it with more aspects than just being real talented at the quarterback position. But like, I want to like as great as Jim Kelly was, my man is not a GOAT. Like, and Bills fans will tell you, like, there's so many spots when I was watching Jim Kelly when I was younger, where I was just yelling at the screen, like, yo, bringing the backup quarterback, because my man brought him back many times in that game. Jim Kelly had plenty of chokes, I think, throughout his career. I wouldn't consider him the GOAT. He would have a chip if he was the GOAT. I think he choked more than enough times to take him out of that conversation personally. And I know it's going to get a lot of Bills fans upset, but I mean, it's facts. My man would have a chip.
Okay, I'm not saying he's the GOAT. I'm saying on the when you rank the best quarterbacks of all time, would you have Terry Bradshaw over a Jim Kelly or a Dan Marino?
I would have Terry Bradshaw. I would have Terry Bradshaw over um, Jim Kelly, but not over Dan Marino. Dan Marino was that dude, but he didn't have the defense to really carry him to a championship. He did it all with the offense, and the offense was high powered and they scored. But he didn't have the defense that Terry Bradshaw had. You feel what I'm saying? Jim Kelly, Jim Kelly always kind of found a way to screw it up. So it was like for me, and it's no disrespect to Bills fans, you know what I'm saying, but Jim Kelly wasn't in that echelon of being like even considered GOAT. He's legendary because he's a Buffalo Bill and he is Bills fans forever quarterback. You feel what I'm saying? Um, Terry Bradshaw, I feel like I feel like Terry Bradshaw has 4 rings, right? He won 4 rings, right? With the Steelers. Big Ben
Yeah,
won how many? One or two?
two.
Two. I think Big Ben is more revered than Terry Bradshaw is because Terry Bradshaw, even in their own city, even in Pittsburgh, because Terry had a different relationship with the city. So I don't even think that the city of Pittsburgh would put Terry Bradshaw over Big Ben, even with his 4 rings. You feel what I'm saying? Because of that contentious relationship that they had. Now they're good now, but I still think they look at Big Ben with more, admiration. Um, I would say Dan Marino definitely over Terry Bradshaw, even with no rings. Dan Marino was just built different, man. And I hate using the if he had, but if he had a defense, he would have. I feel like he would have won more rings. If Jim Kelly could have got out of his own way, I feel like he could have won at least one. But
Yo,
they
but
always
shout out
find
to
a way to.
Terry Bradshaw though. I don't like all this Terry Bradshaw hate only for this reason. I'll just end it with this. Like Terry Bradshaw, man, like my
I'm
man,
not hating on him, bro.
NFL career, we just talking about all his contributions to the NFL. I rank him above Jim Kelly and Dan Marino. Because like we're not talking just on the field, we're talking about like his broadcasting career. Like, yo, I got him higher, like for
I'm
his
talking
contribution
field.
to the sport. Yeah, we just talking about on the field, sure, but like, the Terry Bradshaw hate, like, nah, man, that
Ain't
dude's
nobody hating on him. If you want to talk about off the field, look at what Jim Kelly has done. His son was sick. He lost his son to that horrible disease. He's done a lot for that foundation. So we
for
want to talk
sure.
about off the field. Jim Kelly's done a ton off the field and still continues to do a lot off the field. But we talking about on the field. Now, I'm Terry Bradshaw. I'm not hating on him again, man. But I just think that even though Dan Marino never won a chip, I feel like Dan Marino was just that dude, man. He was just, oh my gosh. And he's you too young to have seen Dan Marino play, bro.
I saw Dan Marino play. I'm
How
not,
old were you, man?
Bro, we
Like
not
4?
that young. Don't
right.
old
He
man
was
us
like
like that,
4 years
man.
old, bro.
Nah, but I mean, I remember
Wow.
the fake spike against the Jets, bro. Like, I watched that
You
game.
remember that because your father probably sat you down and told stories about
Exactly,
My
man.
dad was a Jets
Stop
fan, and
fronting,
I'm
man.
just there like these
Y'all
Jets,
fronting,
man.
man.
Nah, I
All
saw
right.
that
check.
game.
I brought up Dan Marino. It was less to hate on Bradshaw, more to give Marino some love because he's never mentioned when you talk about like the greatest quarterbacks of all time. It's always Brady, Montana, now it's Mahomes. Um, and I feel like everybody's like forgetting that before them, Dan had all the records. Like Dan was the man.
He had the Marx brothers too. Remember Mark
Yeah,
Clayton, Mark Duper. Come on, man.
yeah.
We
So
could
I
go
mean,
on about that.
Marino, I think I feel bad for him because I think him getting to the Super Bowl in his rookie year, he thought it was very very easy,
Yep,
and he never got back. He got humbled real
he
quick.
did real quick, man.
Um, but I think he should get more love for his career. I mean, it's funny to see him in the commercials now with Emmett and Jerry and Randy. Um, but yeah, I kind of wish he had gotten at least one because he's definitely one of those who, if you put up a Rushmore of NFL quarterbacks, I don't see how you keep him off of it. But a lot of people look at the rings and like Shaq always clowns Barkley for not having any rings. Um, but Barkley was dope. So
No
You
doubt.
would, bro. We could have a whole conversation on that because you would really put Dan Marino in a Mount Rushmore
All right,
situation,
let's
top
not.
four all
Yo,
for
time.
we gotta
quarterbacks,
wrap up, man. We getting
Yeah,
long in the conversation.
quarterbacks, you got my
bro.
number.
Top
Text me.
four.
You got my
No,
number. Text me. We're not
Yeah,
gonna do this on the
we're gonna
stream, but you can
we're
text
gonna
me.
have to do this. We're gonna have to do this online, man. We got top four Dan Marino
no,
though.
that's something we could revisit. That, man. We'll revisit that. I promise you.
Nah, yeah, we'll revisit that.
All right, cool.
That's craziness.
We'll do the segment on the QBs, man. That'll be a good one. All right.
Okay.
All right, fellas. Well, it's time to wrap it up, man. I appreciate everybody that joined us tonight. Looks like we got just a couple of people left watching right now. We probably scared everybody away. We ran a little late, but it's all good. Um, just want to thank you, fellas, man, for being here tonight. Shout out to Josh from Eastside. Josh, hope you should be asleep right now. You better not be watching.
You better
And
not be watching because you could have been on the stream.
facts, man. So all right, fellas. So we'll do it again next week, man. Great episode, great topics, and great takes. So I appreciate you, brothers, and let's meet up here again next week. Same time. So, all right, fellas. Peace.
Deuces. You got some noodle.